to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be debating trending national issues. And among those issues that we're going to be debating, we have the following. Number one, the officials of government officials in active politics. We saw Len Eugene Namwe, the Maritime Commissioner, Samuel D. Tue, the Finance Minister, and also the new Good Governance boss, Garrison Yelu, campaigning or actively in politics. What do you make of that? Number two, I was Joel Howard Taylor exonerated from economic crimes. That's the report in Front Page Africa. I'm like, why now? I mean, what about this? We're going to talk about that. Former Chief Justice and 3 family members jailed on murder charges. Last and definitely not the least, who is winning the Southeastern votes? Cummings, Weah, Gonglo, or Boakai? Joining me to talk about all this, I have independent-minded Welly Moba. Mrs. Moba, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure interacting.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Abula Mame, a Gonglo supporter. Mr. Mame, welcome to the debate.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
I also have J. Victor Nambe, who is leaning CPP. That's why, he's not really upright. He's leaning. Just be careful you don't fall. Mr. Nambe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Glad to be here.
Also, I want to welcome the unapologetic, unabashed sedition, Mr. Jerome Gilman. He's also the host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gilman, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's going to be a great debate.
I also have another Gonglo supporter. In fact, he's the chairman on the Gonglo Strategic Media Committee, Mr. Gibson Jero. Mr. Jero, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here again.
All right. Mr. Jero, were you publishing the Public Agenda, one of those newspapers? Public Agenda,
yes,
right?
I was the owner of managing editor, yes.
All right, great. That's he is on the Gonglo Strategic Media team. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's get started. The first one is what we've seen is in Liberia now we have vote-rich counties, they call them. That's Lofa, Nimba, Bassa, Bong, and Mount Gibby. And so if somebody is looking for vice president, they want to pick that vice president from those vote-rich counties. We have President Weah, VPs from Bong, a vote-rich county. Joseph Newman Boakai, vice president from Nimba, vote-rich county. Mr. Cummings is running mate from Bassa, another vote-rich county. But the southeastern part of the country is maybe not so appealing to these candidates. Maybe not, maybe true, maybe false. So we're asking who is winning the southeastern vote. Of late, this was Judge Weah territory 2017, and some people even did not bother running campaign in the southeast. In fact, there were some supporters on Mr. Boakai team who really discounted. They said, well, all the southeast is just, all that Nimba can swallow you up. But with the selection of Jeremiah Cohen, it looked like there have been efforts made to get the southeastern vote. Mr. Alexander Cummings was just in Maryland saying, well, this is my home. In fact, I read that he slept in a place called Beacon or Beacon. That's supposed to be his hometown. He slept there, and he took a tour of southeastern part of the country to win votes. Councillor Tiawan said Gonglo also took a trip to the southeast. So from what we're saying, who is winning the southeast and how strategic, how important is winning southeast vote? Let me start with the unapologetic sedition, Mr. Gaiman.
Where do we start? The southeast?
Yes, who's winning southeast? So,
well, listen, man. don't waste my time and don't waste our time here. I am a Republican, registered Republican. If a Democrat came to me and told me that he's running in Alabama, and you expect us Republicans to be hurting our head about some Democrats coming into the reddest of red Republican state and saying that you stand a chance. You can dress like butterfly, you can flap your wing as far as you can, as often as you can. You are going nowhere. There is no way under any circumstance will a Republican win the Senate seat in deep red Alabama. There is no way that anybody from anywhere else outside of the Southeast with a popular son, very progressive son of George Weah. We are not saying that everybody is going to vote for George Weah because that's impossible. Maybe 10, 15% the most. But George Weah is going to win the Southeast just as he did in the past.
Mr. Namwe, you are CPP leaning. Mr. Comey was there. He's also from the Southeast.
That's correct. And I'm actually shocked that my friend and brother, Mr. Gilman, here will lay claim to the Southeast. We know the Southeast is in play. The last time the president enjoyed the support of some of the prominent citizens of Southeast, including the Senator Bonney, James Bonney. But this time, Senator Bonney has told the president he is not going to be supporting him. So we know the Southeast is in play. And I always remind my CDC and CP and Boaca friends, we're looking at the analytics and we're following the data, following the numbers. We know the Southeast is going to fall to the CPP. We know that. We also stated here previously on this platform that we know, and we'll be the first to claim our 7%, like they always tell us. We won 7% of the vote the last time. We know we need to work very hard. This is why we work so hard. Even though we know we are from the Southeast, but we are not taking anything for granted. And we know we will take the Southeast. The Southeast will go to the CPP.
Mr. Kroman, initially, let me first welcome Mr. P. Morris Kroman, the perfect manager. He is a JNB supporter. Mr. Kroman, welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. And I'm glad I jumped in when Mr. Gamer was going on bragging about, we are quasi progressive ideas. I don't know where that coming from, but we can talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I must ask you the same question. Being a GMB, Mr. Boakai have never visited the Southeast since 2017. But with the infusion of the energy or with the selection of Jeremiah Cohn, the Southeast is looking at the Southeast. Who's winning the Southeast? Does Mr. Boakai have a chance?
First, thank you again for having me. I think this is a great debate. When we look at the elections numbers so far, if you put all of the Southeast counties together, besides Grand Bassa County, constitute about 12% of the total votes. Let's be honest, 12% is a dismal number when you're looking at, collective victory. If you take, Western Liberia, for example, and put them together, it's about 6%. So logically, it makes sense to spend all your time between Nimba County and Mosurado County because the bulk of the votes are right in between those counties. I'm not discounting Southeast. It's 12%. So, we can spend some time there. We can talk about Jeremiah Cohn connection to the Southeast. We can, even if we take all of the votes in the Southeast and give it to Weah, it's not going to make him president. If you take all the votes in the Southeast plus Western Liberia and put them together, it still not make Weah president. So somehow that corridor that I just mentioned, which is between Nimba County and Mosurado, that's where most of the votes are, and that's where significant resources must be invested. But I the Southeast is out for grabs. I honestly believe that everybody will get the share of the Southeast, just like people will get their share of the votes in Montserrat County, that's how the Southeast is going to be. Because the Southeasterners are disappointed in we are this small performance. As much as they are looking for a leader, they also have connection with Cummings, who is also from the Southeast. And they see that GMB has a history of, the United Party government that did some work in the Southeast. If we take, for example, during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf era, every year independence, we had to go to one county to celebrate. Some of the development that we saw that happened in the Southeast happened around the time those independence celebrations used to happen. But the truth is, River G still has one high school. We are is the president. The Speaker of the House is from the Southeast. The President pro tem is from the Southeast. The Finance Minister is from the Southeast. Basically, we can see almost the entire government functionary that are supposed to make decisions on resource distribution are from the Southeast. We still have one high school in River G County. So technically, the roads they talk about a coastal highway that has not happened. So people are still disappointed in the performance. The votes are going to get divided. That's all I'm going to say. Just from my prism where I sit, I think the votes are going to get divided.
Right. But and you made a very important point, and I'm trying to kind of get it right. But let me go to Mame. Mame, Mr. Councillor Gonglo spent considerable amount of time in the Southeast. Is he getting something? Is he winning the South? Who's winning?
The Southeasterners will be voting for change. That's what I can say. And given their experience with how George Weah and the entire government, like my brother Reddy said, you have the speaker, the deputy speaker, the finance minister, most of the senior government officials and influencers of George Weah himself as president are from the Southeastern region. The people of the Southeast are frustrated. They are disappointed in the underperformance of President Weah. The promises he made, their expectations, where we having our own son to be president, he will look up for us. He will address our fundamental problems. But when you go to River G today, Finabono number of houses in River G is more than the number of government schools in River G. I mean, her private homes that she built is more than the number of schools government built in River G. So when Gilman is talking about Republican and CDC will win the Southeast because George Weah won the Southeast before, they did not disagree with that. When the people in Sino County were voting in 2011, 2017, they were voting because of President Sirleaf's intervention in Sino County with investment that created jobs for them. 2005 election, George Weah won over 90% of Sino County. In 2011, President Sirleaf won 43%, defeating him. It was because of the intervention, foreign direct investment that created jobs, opportunity for the people. She defeated him in Grand Cru, his own hometown. She defeated him in River G. It was all because of the strategic interventions they were beginning. Only in Maryland County, Winton Totman was able to come up high and she came next to him. I'm saying this to say that the people of Sano County has experienced two different scenarios. One of their son promising them that he will transform their life, he will create opportunity for them while in opposition. They have seen him as president. They have seen the deputy speaker. They have seen the speaker. They have seen the pro tem. They have seen the chief justice. They have seen all the kitchen cabinet of George Weah from the south. You talk about Eugene Nango, you talk about Samuel Too, everybody. They have seen how all these decision makers are only using their names as Southeasterner, but are not concerned about their problem. Tier 1 Gonglo, over the years, not as a government official, have demonstrated continuous and persistent commitment to the people of the Southeast. Whether it was sitting in a position as a Solicitor General and telling his boss, I cannot prosecute this case because it doesn't have evidence. The case of the Grangidians, the several other besides the how you call the case, the the tracing case. Several other Nigerians who were arrested and charged, he represented them. Several other counties when you're talking about advocates in Liberia, up to 80% of advocates in Liberia come from Southeast. Those are the people that introduced advocacy to Liberia. This man has been a poor man lawyer, free advocate from jail. They see the connection with him. So I can't say already Tiawan Gonglo will win the entire Southeast, but I'm saying the people of the Southeast will vote for change. They see that change in Tiawan. They hope they had opportunity of seeing that change in George Weah. They tested him for 6 years. Nothing they can show of the level of support they provided to George Weah over the period of time. They will not vote for him again.
Thank you. And since Mr. Jero, you are also a Gonglo supporter, I want you to just pick up from there, comparing Councillor Gonglo with the other candidates, where you think the people are going and why.
Recently there was a poll in Grand Jury, and out of that poll, they assigned certain percentages of number to each of the candidates, and the 4 candidates participated in our poll conducted by TAP FM. In our poll, George Weah had 300, Councillor Gonglo had 240, and the rest of the people came distance, third and fourth. Now, what am I saying? We are not oblivious of the fact that George Weah is a contender. Nobody will come on this show or will speak to Liberians and say George Weah, oh, he's a pushover. We are very much aware that he's not a pushover. That is why we are fighting very hard to make sure that we cut all of these tentacles that he has planted in these areas. Now, there's no presidential candidate in this race, that has visited villages, towns, and cities in this country called Liberia than Councillor Tiawan Say Gonglo. He has gone to the slums, he has gone to the bushes, he has gone to every nooks and corner, about 13 different counties in this Liberia. There's no political candidate that has done that. So people claim he's an underdog. Well, we're not going to fight that. People say he's underdog, so we're not going to fight it. The other day he said, people say I'm underdog. Okay, since I'm underdog, I'm going to the people to tell them about myself. But look, JMB will not win Southeast. He will not win Southeast because JMB is not going anywhere. He stay in Monrovia and expect the people in Southeast to come and vote for him. It's not going to be possible. The people want to see you. In fact, Cummings will win more votes in Southeast than JMB. But what we are trying to do is to show to George Weah that the southeastern region that he depended upon to add to his number is no longer the same. He is not going to get that kind of votes in the southeast. And if he is not very careful, that southeast, he will lose most of the counties. And Gonglo will be the reason for George Weah losing the counties because he is now resting. This is the man who slept. Look, the man slept in Tucson. And that's how the man slept in Tucson, in the village in Tucson. And the mosquito chopped him. The mosquito ate him, but he still slept in the village. That's the kind of person we're talking about. And Liberian people need to start thinking, who do we want? Do we want a man who has refused to steal government money? Do we want a man who was in government and had a policy difference with the government, with the president, and instead of looking at the grease and say, I will not leave, let me chop some of the grease, he didn't do that and say, you know what? Griso, no Griso, I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving. This is not the kind of government for me. Do the Liberian people want that kind of person? Or they want the man who is controlled by Prince Johnson, who they call criminal, and now he is controlling their politics? Is that the kind of person they want? Or they want the man whose government will have more than 8 people dying mysteriously and cannot be investigated? 8 auditors and people who are in government, who government feel that they are enemy and they are getting missing, they are dying, and the government of Liberia is incapable of arresting people to bring them to justice for killing innocent people. Do we want a president who will preside over a regime that will arrest a former Chief Justice and charge the person with murder when they do not even have the prima facie case. They do not have murder weapon. They do not have fingerprint. They do not have any physical evidence, and they are charging the person with murder when they are unable to prove. They will be unable to prove it. Or do they want a man who will say justice is my thing, who stood for justice, who denied himself of money and represented people free of charge? Thank you, Ambula, for talking about the Grand Jury case. This man, I'm telling you, Dennis Jack, this man, let me say the last thing that I will pause. This man, Councilor Yawase Gonglo, was Solicitor General. President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf told him, I don't want you to prosecute Koko, who is also from Nima, but I want you to prosecute Charles Giroux and Andrew Double. And he said, but Madam President, how can we have the people accused of the same crime, but we will release the other people and prosecute the other people? It will not work well for me. And Madam Sirleaf removed him from that case and put private and contracted private lawyers to prosecute that case. At the end of the day, the exact thing that Councilor Gonglo told them, there is no prima facie case. He told them, the video I saw, I don't see any prima facie case. We will not win this case. They did not listen. They lost that case. That is the kind of man like Liberians will be missing, and go for somebody who does not make decision of himself, who is surrounded by people who want to corrupt the Liberian government. Is that the
Thank you, Mr. General. We have plenty of grounds to cover.
And his party living on debt.
Thank you. We got plenty of grounds to cover here tonight.
Yeah,
let me go to Mrs. Mamba on this one. Mrs. Mamba, you are from the Southeast. What are you hearing from your people?
I think Southeast is up for grabs. So we cannot say one person is going to win the Southeast. I know in 2017, for example, River G, the youth voted 78% for the current president. That might change because of prevailing circumstances. One, in 2021, when the president was making his tour, he condemned the guest house and that you are going to construct state-of-the-art presidential palace. Up to this day, there's no palace to be found. So that promise has not been kept. Recently, I saw a video that surfaced from the Southeast, the market women, where they were angry. They returned whatever gift that some of the officials carry. And they said that they were not going to, take the gifts because they've been suffering since the government came to power, and now elections is coming and they want to give them gifts. So they were not going to hold a gift. So those women were brave enough to talk, on air and voice out their grievances. So I know there are some people, especially River G, where you really have diehard supporters for President Weah. And it's not really based on, tangible per se. Some of the people just love him. And they think he is one of them, especially young people. So he might get some votes, but it may not be equivalent to what he had in 2017. 2017, there was another factor that gave him additional votes, which is the outgoing president was with him. Basically, she might not have said it publicly, but the actions show that she supported him for president. So you could find that some of the members of UP that love the president, the outgoing president at the time, they also gave their support to President Weah. So all that might change this coming election because the president might not be supporting like she did last time. We don't know. So other people will be making their decisions basically based on the economic situation that the country is in. So, for example, the U.S. rate is going up, and when they start to go up, things are very costly. in the middle of hardship, if you have people to vote, they're going to be casting their vote based on the prevailing circumstances at that moment. So if somebody is really hungry at that time and they're going to cast their vote, you might not expect a positive vote for you if they other blame you for what's going on. So I also saw other videos where Alexander Cummings went to the Southeast and he had a great reception, which I think improved since he had his vice president. So he was warmly welcomed in the Southeast. And so I think he's going to get some votes from there too. Gunklo, he is one of the people of the Southeast. He is very humble, all right? And he walked the streets, that particular road that is bad and everybody flying to go to the Southeast. Gonglo walked in the mud. He went on the villages. He spoke to people that are not even seeing presidential candidates. So it will stick on their minds when they're casting their votes. So I think he might be smiling when people are voting because he showed to the people that he's down to earth. And when he takes over, he's going to do the same thing. So I think the Southeast is actually going to be divided among people. There's one person that will claim 85% or 78% like before. It might be just everybody getting something.
Dennis, as a Southeastern.
Hold on, before you come here, just one more thing, and then we can respond. You can respond to it, and then we move on to our next issue. That is Southeast. The idea, and Morris hinted on that they don't have many votes, so it really, don't waste your time there because you can get all that from Nimba or Bong, right? That's something that is being spoken about, especially among Unity Party voters or supporters. Also, is that a fair assessment because we don't have electoral college, right? It's one person, one vote. The next thing is if you look in Monserrado, we see kind of southeastern settlements, right?
Yeah.
How is that going to impact the southeastern vote? Based on people in Newtown, West Point, Claratown, and even Logantown. How is that going to have an impact on southeastern vote? Because people normally listen to their sons and daughters in Monrovia, what they tell them.
So, and Dennis, before Mr. Nagwe comes in, I think I want to comment on that. People always focus on the idea that we don't have a lot of votes. Southeast is so small. But check West Point, check Claratown, check Doe community. All these people that you are depending on in Monserrado County to cast your ballot, people that you are depending on in other counties to cast your ballot are all from the Southeast. So I think the politics need to change. Some people want to be campaigning based on rich, quote unquote, rich populated county. We need to start talking to our people wherever you are. Once you have the Southeastern blood running through your veins, you should vote based on where you come from, because it's because of that people think we don't have votes, so we have been marginalized most of the time. And so when we begin to vote according to our geographical locations or wherever our families come from, I think all of this will change, because I think it's really getting overboard that people think Southeast doesn't matter because we don't have the number. We don't have the number because the place is neglected. All right? People don't pay attention to development. We don't have jobs. We don't have anything to keep our people in the county. Not that we don't have numbers. You go to Nimba, you got everything you want is there. So the citizens have no reason to leave their counties. But it's not with the Southeast. Well, it doesn't mean we don't have numbers. We got numbers, and we need to change the politics so that people will vote when we want a particular person to win based on where they come from.
Thank you. I think Maurice disagree with you, but let me ask Victor first.
Totally.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. The argument, with all due respect to Mr. Kroman, the argument that the votes from the Southeast don't matter, and therefore they're not going to bother. I think that is.
He didn't really say that.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Jimmy Bwaga has not been to the Southeast, has he?
Yeah, but I did not say that. What you just said is not what I said.
You just said the Southeastern vote is what? 12% of the vote.
That's
It doesn't matter.
exactly what I said.
I mean, that's what you imply. But let me tell you this: that argument holds water if you're certain that you have a sizable portion of the vote. None of the candidates can tell me that today, and that is why every vote will matter. So let me just give a free piece of advice to Mr. Kroma and my friend Mr. Gilman. The Southeast
Why
is
do you want to do that?
Well, Jimmy, I didn't say anything.
because I'm a friend, unsolicited free advice. Let me tell you this: the Southeast, all right, as a Southeasterner, Maryland County, the biggest tribe in Maryland County is the Barrow tribe, where I'm from. The president went on his nationwide tour. He stopped in Callaway, which is Colocan, and told the Barrow people to come and meet him there. You figure that out. That was a slap in the face. He didn't go to Barrow. So our people came to see him because he is the president. Now, Councilor Gloria Musu-Scott is at the South Beach prison tonight. She is from Callaway District. Clark Martin, who is being removed from the CCC, is from Callaway District. I can tell you this, and I'm sure Ms. Mulva will bear me out. The Callaway people are not happy. So we're looking at all of these shifting pieces, and we're comfortable with where we are in the Southeast. Ms. Mulva just referenced the reception that Mr. Cummings received recently in the Southeast. And even though we're from the Southeast, but we're not taking anything for granted. So I just wanted to put that little free piece of advice out there to my friends so that they may advise their principals. They need to revisit their strategies on the Southeast.
Thank you. My brother is a psychologist. He always warned about unsolicited advice. So I don't know to what extent.
I would love to chime in on this. Just
Yes, please do. And before you chime in,
1 minute.
somebody mentioned Finabono. There she is. Isn't she lovely?
Yes.
Is that a current photo?
Yes.
Yeah. There was CW alumni homecoming, and she dressed in your CW uniform.
There you go.
So, the two things that I wanted to point out, Dennis, Mozzarella County, it's not a representation of the Southeast. Let's correct that, because there are several mix of communities in Mozzarella County. For example, you have what we call Bassa community. We have what we call Town. So even though we can talk about West Point, Logan Town, and Nuku Town, there are other people that are also.
I understand that. I said there are more.
No, but just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Let me defeat the argument, because if you look at Mozzarella County, it's a mix of so many different people. That's the reason why nobody can win Mozzarella easily. That's the reason why opposition always win Mozzarella County, because it is the brainchild of politics in Liberia. Besides that, it's a mix of, for example, if you take the Freeport to Red Light, that whole region is saturated with Muslims. A huge Muslim population in that region, right? They're not Southeasterners, but if we take Todi, for example, Todi is outside of Monrovia. Todi is way outside of Monrovia. You'll not find Southeasterners in those areas easily. If you go to Carisburg, you'll not find Southeasterners there easily. So if you take the whole Mozzarella picture, it's a mix of different people. But on the other side, if I was advising a political person, for example, Omer Joseph Boakai, I don't have access to him. If I were advising him or advising, Tiawon Gonglo or Mr. Cummings, with limited resources that we have at our disposal, we now let Mr. Gaiman, who has the state under him and can decide how they can distribute resources. If you have limited resources, and you look at it, I mean, that's just the truth of it. CDC got unlimited resources right now. They can decide whatever they want to do with the resources that they have to their disposal. If I'm advising anybody in the opposition camp with limited resources, we'll have to make decisions on how to distribute resources based on data. And that data, if you look at the Southeast, is only 12% of the votes. If I were advising on them, I would say, listen, Forget about Western Liberia. It's only 6%. No matter how much investment we make in Cape Mount, Bapolo, and Bomi County, it's only 6% of the votes. It's not going to matter a lot. So if you look at Mosurado County and Nima County, just those two counties, that's 50% of all of the votes in the country. So let's spend enough time in convincing people in Nima County and in Mosurado County and along that belt. Since the belt is accessible, actually, because there's paved road there, it makes it easy for steno bearers to run through these counties. You can, visit 6 villages or 10 villages in a daytime, just talking about all the things that you want to do, just within one day. Then to go spend one whole week in the southeast.
That's a bad strategy.
I'm
Every
just
vote counts.
That would be my.
Hold on, Mrs. Maba.
You're not find a Republican or a Democrat going to Delaware to campaign. They're not going to
But
waste.
they do come to New Jersey though. One of the bluest
They will not
states.
go to Delaware. They will not go to Delaware.
And why would they not go to Delaware?
Because numbers count. Delaware,
and Delaware, because of the electoral college.
That's correct.
And Labrador does not have an electoral college.
But electoral college is measured by the total outcome of the votes. So even if I ignore Delaware and I invest time in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, that number in New Jersey or Pennsylvania will cover up for what Delaware can give me. So I'm not wasting my time with that.
All right.
Dennis,
that's my own reasoning, but
I want us to move, but go ahead, Mr. Mame.
Yeah, 1 minute. Ms. Morba was talking about Southeastern people, the society being neglecting them, and for that reason they should be voting. I just wanted to provide some historical facts here. The first indigenous president for our country, like real indigenous came from Southeast, that was Samuel Kedo. During the crisis period, we had Amos Sawyer serving as interim president. George Weah is the president. Abbott Chie is the pro tem. Buffer Chimo is the speaker. Fonati Kofa. So the southeastern region of the country have been blessed with leadership and decision making in the country. Been blessed with power and authority. Unfortunately, now they have not used their power and authority to pay attention to their people, and that's the reason why this time the southeasterners are saying we will vote for change. We will vote for impact rather than just voting for tribe and association. They did that with Ellen in Grand Cru. They did that with Ellen in Sino. They did that with Ellen in River G. They did that with Ellen in Maryland. Because of the investment she did in Sino, in Grand Cru, and Maryland, she created jobs for the people through different foreign direct investment. And that's why they'll be voting for that. They are disappointed in that of Easterners, by the way.
Thank you. We'll move to our next point tonight, which is the former First Lady Jewel Howard Taylor. According to a front page article, Jewel Howard Taylor exonerated from economic crimes. Mr. Gibson Jerry, you covered these stories, right? Let's look at economic crime. So when I read this, I was looking at the date over and over to see, why this article? So what do you know about Jewel Howard Taylor? And they said she was exonerated by the TRC report. I'm asking you, what is the true story and why now? Why is this coming up now? Unmute yourself, please.
I think some kind of maneuvering is going on there from the vice president office, so as to give her a free hand to be able to campaign on clean hands, because everybody thinks that George Weah, and rightly so, George Weah and his officials are corrupt. So she wanted to, we've been in the media, Dennis, we've been in newsroom, and people send high caliber people send people there to negotiate that, my man, this story came a long time, but y'all can bring it all now, and anything, because people think that I'm a criminal, and they will plead with you, dodge them, only finally you pull a story up somewhere there in the back page just to, get them off your back. We know all of these tricks. I'm not surprised that I appear, but
is that what they call the cartoon journalism, or what is that?
Well, Pala is cartoon journalism. I can't deny that, because they will, that's what happened. But listen, Joel Howard Taylor was the central bank governor, was a national bank governor. Okay, was deputy national bank governor. Through her Taylor was wooing all the money into his house. So all of the things that happened, all of the things that Taylor was doing, she knows about them. I don't know how she is free, but you know the TRC was Taylor in a way that sometimes the result they brought, I'm not satisfied with, I'm not happy with some of the result. Some of the people they exonerated, they're not supposed to be exonerated. People like Burma family was exonerated. How can you exonerate men at Burma family who led a group of people that went to Sierra Leone and they died? He abandoned them. He had done all kinds of stuff in Liberia. You exonerated that kind of man. So there were certain people who were exonerated by the TRC. I'm not happy. One of them is Joel Howard Taylor. Joel Howard Taylor cannot be exonerated for economic crime. Like any, like how can you say
I mean,
Benani
by
Ure?
association, or
Yeah, yeah.
actually,
How can you say Benani Ure is culpable, but Joel Howard Taylor is not? This woman was deputy national governor, and she was funneling that money to Taylor. What are you talking about? We saw what she was doing in this town. So she's not clear, but TRC says she's clear. So she want to bring that story up now so that she can look like she has clean hands. I don't think Joel Howard Taylor has clean hands. I think every decision that was made in Liberia, the political woes of Liberia, Joel Howard Taylor has a part to play. And at the right time, the Liberian people will acquaint her with the part that she played that brought our country to its needs.
Mr. Gaiman.
Well, listen, I'm not here. It may sound like I'm bragging, but the TRC report, it remind me of the old Basel philosopher who says, when the wise man tells you that he's not a crook, but he tells you to flip the coin. He tells you head, I win. Tail, you lose. That means you are telling me that I have no chance of winning, because head you win. Then when it comes on the tail, you say I lose again. So when would I ever win? This is what it is here. Joel Howard Taylor, we all said this TRC report, when it catches one of our men and women, it is great. Like Joseph Waikai, when we lost a lot of seats during the 2020 election, the CPP, the opposition, when they were running all over the place, the electoral process was fine. The LEC was good. But when he lost in Lofa County, he went on the air. The statesman of all people, the wisest man, according to them, went and said the elections in Lofa County were rigged. When they win, it is good. When they lose, it is rigged. So here we are, when this TRC report castigate and convict everybody without even the judicial process, everybody cheered them. When they free someone like Joel Howard Taylor, then you guys are saying this thing is suspect. The same TRC report said Ellen Johnson Sirleaf should not participate in our political system for 30 years. Even the Supreme Court had to tie themselves into knot to say that this law does not basically apply to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because of XYZ and allow her to run. So here we are. You either accept this in its totality or reject it in its totality. The particular TRC report has said the woman is vindicated. And I trust the TRC report. I will not argue with it because those were people that were empowered to do the research, listen to folks, and they have come up. So I think we should send the vice president a thank you card and kudos to her for a job well done. She said it. She has always been a victim of witch hunt from people like Kroma and Mambe and Jeru and Namwe and all of these guys. They've been after her, dragging her name in and more. All these years. Finally, she vindicated. You got her a public apology. I'm talking a public apology. I'm talking to Mr. Mambe. You should do it here tonight. Victor Namwe, you should do it here tonight. Jeru, you should do it here tonight. Kroma, you should do it here tonight. This woman deserves a public apology from you guys for denigrating her falsely all these years. The woman is
Thank you.
vindicated.
Let you hear from Victor. Maybe he will do it.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. And I will not. First of all, I think that the clearance of the vice president is questionable, as many of my fellow panelists here have said, because of her involvement with the NPP and the NPP government, First Lady. Yes, she was clear. That is questionable. And then the timing of this publication, I think this was published back in 2012 when the BBC carried the story that the vice president was cleared by the TRC. And so I am confused as to why we're still reading about this today. It makes me wonder. And that's all I have to say about that.
Mr. Kroma, does that make you wonder as well?
No, it doesn't. I think it's just a publicity stunt by Joel trying to get some kind of quote unquote credibility, like one of the panelists have said. I think she's looking for a way to say, well, I'm not like everybody else in CDC. I'm different because here is it that I went through this whole TRC process and I'm the golden person among them and I am better. So look at me here. She's trying to take from the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf playbook when Ellen won the Nobel Peace Prize just before the election in 2011. But they're incomparable. You can put those two together. I think Joelle sometimes come across as very desperate, and it's a bad thing for her. She's been in public life for so long. She's supposed to be able to tell her story of success, but because she doesn't have a story to tell as a successful woman, she looks for all these little things. I mean, you go pay a journalist to post something in front page Africa to say you're exonerated. I have great respect for the TRC report. She's exonerated. Free. Good. Let's move on to the process now. Let's go into the election and see how many people in Bond County today can vote for Joelle Howard Taylor because she's the VSB for the CDC. The data will show. It's not far again. We just got a few more months. Cummings had a very strong showing in Bond County recently. That should worry her.
She's quicksand in Bond. They know that.
She should worry about it because at the end of the day, it clearly shows that Joelle doesn't have the grip that she had in Bond County a few months ago. And I think, like I said, she's coming across as being very desperate. Some of the things that I see her post on social media is beyond description. No vice president anywhere in the world should be doing some of the things that she's doing. But hey, it's Liberia.
Like what?
We don't hold our officials accountable easily. So
yeah. What? What are some of those things?
I mean, I've seen her post a picture of her in her bedroom, stuff like that. I've seen her post things with her talking about men in a way that because somebody put out a data, stuff like that. It's just the immaturity in the things that she does. It bothers me. But
yeah. Sometimes they say women in politics they go under stronger scrutiny than men. Maybe that's what you're doing.
Okay, so I mean, no. It's fair to scrutinize everybody. I've done that, but when she is the vice president of the state, she's the vice president for all of us Liberians, right? So there's a certain standard that you have to hold. And whether you are man or woman, when you're in that position, we have to hold you at that position. The reason why some of us hold Josh Weah the way we hold him is because of the same thing. I honestly believe that we are coming across as denigrating the office of the president. And I think Joelle sometimes comes across the same way. She, does certain things that's just on vice presidential, if that's a word.
Thank you. Let me go to Alex.
I just wanted to add to what Kroma said here. If you look at, so let's say Claudia is going to be one of the cleanest people in Liberia. Like George Weah government, she get on federal access to money. The budget for her office is whooping, and all of these things that is unquestionable. Her budget is unquestionable. When it appears before the Senate, they don't touch it; they just pass it. No scrutiny for office budget. So all the time, Joelle Taylor was first lady. All the money that was thrown up to her office, can she say it was justified? Did she say she used everything? She used all her money on the people. Was it used on projects that impacted people? I covered Joy Taylor for 1 year. No, for less 8 months. I covered her. We went to places. She bought toys for children and give it to them. Maybe like 2, 3 times in a year, toys. That's why she gave it children. I covered her so I know exactly what she was doing. So when people say, "Oh, she's exonerated," the TRC also said in the act, anyone who comes clean and tell your story and you didn't deny your story and you tell them the truth, they will also certify you as not being prosecutable. So that's part of the thing we have to look at as well. So
Thank
TRC
you.
has its own way of telling you, "Oh, you know what? You're clean, you clear, you can go. We're not going to bother you because you came clean. You told us everything, and we are happy with the information you gave us. So therefore, you are remorsed, and we are not going to do anything to you." That's why free people like Amos Sawyer, Boyman Family, and all of these people, because they felt that they came clean. So the TRC, I respect the result. Don't get me wrong, but when people come like that to publish it after how many years and you want to highlight it, then we begin to go back into your closet and begin to pull all those stuff that are in the closet. So I really disagree that she was.
Thank you. Let's keep the closets closed
He
tonight.
owes us an apology for wasting our time.
We'll keep the
Yeah.
closet closed, right?
Yeah, let's go to Mrs. Mulder. Alice, BP Taylor is exonerated. It was first published in 2012. Now it's being republished, maybe for emphasis. What's your take?
Well, I respect the TRC. If they say she's exonerated, I'll take it as it is. But recently, Yaka Koluba was saying something like she is enjoying the sweat. So I do remember that she got married to President Taylor, who is having time in prison now. After or during all these atrocities that were being carried out in Liberia. So I want to believe that it's probably because of economic reasons, or she could have other reasons, but economic reason could be one of the factors that probably she left from America to go and marry somebody who was already committing atrocities. So so it kind of tricky, and maybe she came clean. That's why they set her, they pronounce her clean in a TRC report. But when I was in Liberia, General Ase Musa, most of the time, every evening, he went to Telecom to collect all the revenues and take it to Chancellor House. She was there as the first lady. She was there during a process when too many people were killed in Monrovia when the combined forces of the rebels were fighting. So I'm wondering what kind of advice she was giving to this president at the time. So if she was not really in favor of all these things that were going on, why did she stay there? So when Yeke mentioned that, she was there because she wanted to benefit from their sweat, then it kind of making me to wonder, whether she's truly exonerated from the, economic crimes.
Thank you. Let's go to. But before I go, Alice, are you, because you were alluding to the fact that by virtue of her leaving America to go to Liberia and get married to her son father, you're saying you find her guilty by that association, or what's your point when you said she already knew Taylor was committing atrocities and she went and got married? So whatever Taylor did, she's at fault. Just
Well,
clarity.
I think if you were quote unquote a clean lady, whether you and it, because she had a kid with President Taylor before he started doing all that he did. It was not like they were all. It's not like Clyde Weir, who was already married to President Weir before he became president. She was when it, dating this man or maybe boyfriend and girlfriend, even though they had a kid. But she still had a choice to marry him or not to marry him. If she didn't like his behavior, especially when it had to do with taking people's lives and looting the country. But she saw all these things and she left from America and went and she was landed, high paying job. And then she became first lady. And under her watch, the war raged on and a lot of people died. She did not tell him to stop.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Mame.
For me, I wouldn't I wouldn't beat Joel because of her emotional connection or her physical connection to Taylor. The thing about marriage is about love. I would assume that she got into a relationship with him because she had that strong affection for him. And when people marry, they say for better for worse. Knowing the child Taylor that we know, I wouldn't assume that he would be taking advice from Joel, from his wife. Not only Joel as a person. I wouldn't think that Charles Taylor would be seeking advice or listening to his wife that he has in the house. His style of doing things, his way of doing things are completely different. Wife in the house is a housewife. Is not a person who will advise or dictate or tell him to stop fighting. She can persuade him, as a wife, she used her persuasive power, but Taylor was beyond that. That said, told the story, everything that happened before the TRC report is over 2-3 decades away from us. Joel has been in politics since 2005. Liberians are looking at her based on her 2005 to 2023 political record. I think that is the record she should try to project. Her missteps since 2005 to today, those are the records she should try to clear. And not going back to 1980 and 1990 records that TRC exonerated her of. She has been senator for Bon County all through. She has been vice president. Let's assess her based on her record since 2005 to today and forget about what happened in the past. This is the most recent. We economists, we who look at data, we look at the most recent data to make decisions. We'll go way back, we'll go way back to do comparison. But as we go towards the election, this woman has been the vice president for 6 years. What has been her contribution to stopping some of the things we see in governance? The only time she spoke was the time she said she was sidelined. That's the time she spoke. The only time she speak about issues that affect women, if those issues affect somebody associated with the presidency. When Asif Atokpa wrote his book and he affected the office of the president because of his wife, she spoke out loudly. But there have been several instances of violence, domestic violence against different women in Liberia. The vice president is not that vocal. I will tell you this. The vice president has been good to me as a person. She made strategic intervention for me that I can always recognize and say publicly. But in terms of how the government she associates with, she serves and wants to get re-elected for additional 6 years, I disagree. I even disagree with some of the actions she takes. The vice president of the country runs a private foundation, and that private foundation receives funding from concessionaires in the country like Beer Mountain. Where else in the world can you see this? That a certain vice president runs a foundation and the foundation is receiving money from a concession company in the country. Recently in Grand Cape County, Beer Mountain polluted the water. There was cyanide spread in the water. It destroyed marine life. It destroyed the people's source of livelihood. The EPA went there. They took pictures. It went on international news. Beer Mountain did not pay the price for environmental degradation. She did not pay the price of destroying the people's water. She did not pay the price of destroying the people's source of livelihood in Grand Cape County. It went free. I could easily assume that it went free because Beer Mountain is paying money to Joel Howard Taylor Private Foundation. So let Josh Hall, based on her 2005 to 2023 record, and let's trash that thing about TRC exonerated her. Joel is vulnerable. Let me lay on this thought. Joel is very vulnerable in Bond County. The action of Nathaniel Magay in Bond County exposed Joel's vulnerability. Magay started to project himself as the mayor of Bond County. He rallied all the town chiefs, the elders, the youth. When Joel was being marginalized, what I thought at that time was the people of Bond County would say, we stand with our daughter. You cannot treat our daughter like this and come to us for support. But instead, they left her one side, they jumped behind Magay. It was later on when the sanction came, before they started to come back to her. She should be careful and know that she's sitting on a slippery slope. Magay exposed her vulnerability in Bond County. The people did not stand with her when she was marginalized.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate.
South.
In this Friday Night Debate, we are debating current issues. I have Alice Wilson Momba, an independent, Gibson Jeru, chair of the Gonglo Strategic Media Team, Abdullah Mame, a Gonglo supporter, P. Morris Kroman, JNB supporter, Jerome Gaiman, the unapologetic sedition supporting Mr. Weir, and J. Victor Namwe, not supporting but leaning CPP. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go into the issue of the arrest and detention of the former Chief Justice Gloria Musu-Scott and 3 of her family members on murder charges. Stay with us. Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We'll be back shortly after this drumbeat from the cultural ambassador. Welcome back to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. Quite recently, or yesterday, within the next 2 days, we saw that Gloria Musu-Scott, the former Chief Justice, Republic of Liberia, along with 3 family members, was arrested and detained on murder charges. 3 charges, that's murder, conspiracy, and false claims to police. We saw that first she was released and then rearrested and detained. And the person who died is her daughter. So the whole country was gripped with mixed feeling as to what really is going on. And we have heard all sides to the story. Again, you see, this was a highly charged case. You see the riot police in their gear. We see the police also marching them to prison, and we saw all that. Now, there have been various reactions to this, so we want to go around the room, 1 minute each. Let me get your first reaction to this story. Let's start with Alice.
Well, I think it is kind of emotional, to lose your daughter and then have to go through what she's going through now. I watched the videos. I think the police, the whole episode looked like, when President Taylor was going to arrest Roosevelt Johnson. This is a woman, for God's sake. I mean, they were going to arrest her as if she was a kind of armed and dangerous person. So I think it was a little bit too much. It was over the top. The riot police, the movement of everybody was traumatic for her. And again, it is very emotional, but I believe in justice. Whatever the case is, I'm sure that they will investigate and really, really make sure that the perpetrator of the killing is, at the end of the day, is apprehended. I mean, if she is the doer, the law will take its course. And at the end of the day, the truth will come out. But for now, I'm going to reserve my comments. I'm still looking because I think a lot of there's too many stories regarding this one death. And actually, we've been trying to figure out what is really going on, So, but I think it's a little bit too much. The energy was too much for an old woman. And I was wondering whether, the same thing could have been applied to a man if it were a man. But I just leave it like that.
Thank you. Mr. Gerald.
Thank you very much. First of all, I have a little bit of problem with charging Madam Scott with murder. Murder, in those who are lawyers know that murder is a very high bar. When you charge somebody with murder, you should have some real evidence. You should be able to, first of all, you should have a murder weapon. You should have forensic evidence like fingerprints. You should have testimonial evidence like somebody who say, yes, I saw it, I know the person did it. You must be able to prove what we call in the law called mens rea, which is the intent, the mind, the plan that you made to kill this person. So that's what you do to prove to prove murder. This person thought with malice against this person, and they wanted to kill this person. They planned it and they killed the person. So it is different from like involuntary manslaughter, which I thought the government was going to charge her with, which could easily stick. Like for example, oh, the children were fighting, or I was fighting the person and I pushed the person and the person hit the wall and the person fell down and they died. Those are the kind of things we call involuntary manslaughter, or some kind of crime that you can catch. But even the most surprising thing is they put three crimes together that are completely diametrically opposed to each other. For example, from murder they came to conspiracy. So my thinking is they are saying if Madam Scott did not participate or if she did not plan the murder, then she collaborated with the person who did the murder. That's conspiracy to murder. So Gibson and John, Gibson was not part of the murder. He didn't plan to kill, but he agreed to the person to kill this person. Conspiracy to murder. But one crime there that looked a little bit lighter, which is a misdemeanor, is making false statement to law enforcement. That particular crime will be the one that they can easily catch Madam Scott because they have accused her before of saying something to the law enforcement that was not true. So based on that, they can have testimonial evidence about what she said. They can say something, they can go to the media and bring her statement. They can take a video or maybe audio or newspaper report and say, hey, this is what you said, and you told the law enforcement that something like this happened, but you knew that didn't happen. But guess what? This is the catch of the whole trial. They put in the charge sheet, which I have here. In the charge sheet, it said that the person was killed with a knife. So the police determined that this person was killed with a knife. So now we want to see if they had that knife. We want to see fingerprints. But we do not have fingerprints in Liberia. We do not have that kind of sophistication. How do they know who used the knife? That's another question that we need to ask.
We,
From the beginning, they posted
we're not in court yet.
February 22nd. No, they're not in court yet. So yeah, that we're trying to evaluate the process so that at the end of the day, when this thing didn't happen, we say, well, we saw that. Now, from
thank you.
February
We'll
22nd,
come back and get more from you.
Yeah, let me just say that now. And from February 22nd, they have been inviting her and interrogating her. They have never decided to charge her. Then 2 days ago, they invited her to at the police station, and when she came, they detained her without a charge. Guess what? What's the more interesting thing? They had an elaborate press conference describing the house and all of the impediment to go in our house, but meanwhile, they are never charged her. How the government of Liberia can do something like that and does not have a physical writ of arrest or an indictment? That shocked me.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. What's your reaction to the story?
Well, we have always said the law is the law. No one is above the law. And we are, in the American context, if a crime was committed in my house, it is the tradition that the investigation begins with me. Everybody in my household will be persons of interest. So they begin from within the house and then outward. When Mr.
That is during the investigation.
Yes, obviously. So when they have collected enough evidence, it is carried before a grand jury. We have enough to charge these people, and a charge was levied against them. And the charges of murder, conspiracy, and making false statement, we know all of those to be true because she admitted. She said, I saw the person and I used the spray can. I looked the person in the eye and I directly sprayed. So to anyone, if you came in physical contact with the person and you saw the person physically and you recognize the person and you spray the person, it tells me that you know who that person is, what happened. So all of these things based on the preponderance of the evidence, and the rest will be adduced in the court of law. But I think they have shown to the legal practitioner that, listen, we have enough evidence, okay, to rule out X, Y, Z, and we can 100% or beyond all reasonable doubt prove that she is a part. I'll give you a typical example here in Miami. There were 3 kids that went to rob a gas station. They did not go there. I know they didn't go there with the intent to kill, but they broke into the gas station, held the guy up, and in the midst of committing the crime, one of the guys shot the attendant, and the guy died. The young man got into the car, ran, and later on they were arrested. And all 3 were charged with murder, even though one person pulled the trigger. So it is quite possible, based on the evidence that they have, that everybody in that house at the time can be charged with murder. We don't know when they were separated, what did each person say against each other? Were they contradictory? Were they trying to coordinate their answers that a trained eye and ear will know that they have been rehearsed, they have been taught. So I would say let's go through the process. No one is above the law, and let's see what the government has, and let's see what the prosecution will do with the evidence.
Before I go to Victor, Stories in say the magistrate of the Monrovia City today denied them bail, and they are still held at Monrovia Central Prison. The magistrate also referred the case to the circuit court. Victor, your reaction to this whole story?
You know, I think this the way the case is being handled, I think it's a disgrace on the part of the government. Yes, the government has a right to prosecute if they think a crime is being committed. But the way they're handling this case, those of us who watch sports, it's almost like, the ref will blow a call and then overcorrect on the next call and try to give that team, console that team. So this government is reeling from losing $100 million drug case. Um, and they are trying now to overcorrect, and in the process, they're being very heavy-handed. Um, this is a female. She's not a flight risk. You have riot police coming in here to bring her in. I mean, for what? For Christ's sake. It just tells me that the government knows they have no case, and so they are preparing the people for the eventual failure that's going to follow. As Gibson indicated, this case was started in February. They had all the time. They brought the former justice in, and she was mischarged, and the case was thrown out. They had to rearrest her. They really, I think they're just grabbing for any and
You
everything.
said you were mischarged.
The case was thrown out.
When was that? I didn't pick that up.
This recent arrest, she was rearrested. I mean, she was brought in the first time.
Why? When you said the case was thrown out, that's why I
Judge
didn't.
Jason Blambo. I believe.
I think, I think what happened was, they verbally charged her.
right.
So the lawyers representing Gloria Scott went to the circuit court with a writ of habeas corpus
Correct.
at the criminal code C, and they argued in a writ that there was a constructive custody that the police had on her, which means the police had control over her. She was not going anywhere, so she was already in the control of the police. Therefore, the 48 hours cannot lie because the 48 hours has elapsed. So the judge said, yes, it's true. You have heard her before. She was in your control. You should have charged her. Therefore, we release her. But the judge released her to the lawyer pending the government of Liberia's reapplication of charges on her. I think that's what happened.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to correct that they didn't throw the case out as if it ended.
Okay, so I would take that correction. Thank you for the correction, but I'm just basically exposing the unpreparedness of this government to prosecute this matter, and so I think they're engaging in all kinds of antics. Just they'll do anything but the actual prosecution of this case. And yes, I know justice is supposed to be blind; it should be applied evenly to all. But we all know that not everyone is handled the same way when they're taken to court. I mean, Donald Trump case is the case in point here in the U.S., right? The former president will come to court, and you'll be a courtesy because he is a former president. It's just a fact of life. This lady was what? I mean, she has held practically all major positions: Chief Justice, Minister of Justice, Elections Commission, and they bring her and they're grabbing her and holding onto her and violating her in every way possible.
Yeah, she was senator as well.
Yes. I mean, how would you do this? Any of
Threw
us,
her at the back of the car.
our sister was in that position. I know how we feel about it. So where is the human decency? Where is the presumption of innocence? I just think the case is being handled, and I know this government will lose this case again. I can tell you that because they're already fumbling.
Yeah. Let me go to Mame, and Morris will be last on this one. Mame, first of all, let me start with: do you trust the justice system to dispense blind justice in this case?
No. So what I see happening, and my regret is the child that died will not get justice. A little girl growing up has died. She will no longer have the opportunity to make a family. She will no longer have the opportunity to love people she loves. She was going to school to earn a degree, to be a nurse, to take care of people. That will never happen. Those that love her will not have her again. That sad situation is what the government is tactically trying to prevent justice. The government knows that they don't have evidence to prove murder against those they have charged. I'm not a lawyer, but circumstantial evidence, the process leading to the woman going to jail, who takes a murder case to magisterial court? Who does that? That's the reason why today, in fact, the magisterial court is transferring the case back to the circuit court, because they don't have jurisdictions to prosecute murder cases. But the government took it there because the government doesn't have evidence yet. They stay in the process of trying to find evidence before going to the circuit court. Because when you appear to the circuit court, before appearing to the circuit court, the grand jury must have indicted somebody. That grand jury have not been assembled to provide a full indictment. So a lot of things they're doing suggests to me that this is just an opportunity. Two things. One of the official, or few of the officials of their party were accused of being connected to this crime. One of their supporters, who is a former Udimoke fighter, is accused, Valitele, of being connected to this crime. How true are those allegations? I can't speak to it. But this is what happened. Right after Gloria Musu-Scott was indicted as the person responsible for the death, there was jubilation to the CDC headquarters that their leader is now exonerated. And pictures were celebrated. So it suggests to me as if this indictment was only intended to exonerate our political party leader and those who associated with our party that were accused. But in all fairness, it's not intended to prosecute her, to find her guilty, because they don't have evidence. But here is a trend that I want to conclude on. We have a society where people who are educated, experienced, do not have courage to do the right thing, do not have the character to do the right thing. That's the reason why Liberia is not making progress. It's not because we don't have educated and experienced people. We have educated and experienced people who lack courage to do the right thing. I will go back to Tiawan Gongo not because I support him. President Salif wanted Charles Julu and the rest of the other people to rot in jail for treason. She was looking on the justice system to do that for her. Her Solicitor General, the chief prosecutor, was the one to lead that charge. He told her in her face, without running around on radio station and talking about it, he said, I would not do it because it's not the right thing to do. And he did not do it. That's courage. The more of those people we have, the less our problem will be, the faster our progress will be as a country. If you have someone that I want to do, we wouldn't be experiencing the drama. They would have told President we don't have evidence to prosecute. Look at the case with this lady. Before you just hear about Grand Jida issue, the case with Injo Tokpa, little Injo Tokpa. They won't say I saw everything. There is sentiment around this case. So there are two instances. One, even against mass public support. So you can say he was doing it because he wanted favor. The entire country wanted Hans Bashu and his wife to go to jail. The entire country has concluded that they killed Injo Tukpa. We all as young people were on the street. Soup from where Gwanglo came. Everybody issuing press statement that this man is the one that killed Injo Tukpa. Based on what he saw and being the man he is, he said this evidence is not sufficient to indict these people for murder of this guy. I don't see it as Solicitor General, and we should not prosecute on this count.
Thank
They
you.
went to court, and Hans Bashu and his wife, Madi Piku, were
Say Hans
exonerated.
Williams or
Hans
Bachu?
Williams, sorry.
Williams.
Hans Williams and Madi Piku were exonerated. The case went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled upholding the lower court. That is character. That is what we need in our country, and that is why we're missing, and that's why we support Congo.
Thank you. Let me go to P. Morris Kroma. He spent some time in Labrador working, so he's familiar with most of these issues. Morris, two things happening here. People reaching conclusion, just like in the Angel Topa case.
Yeah.
One side that support Councilor Scott being arrested, with the family members say, hey, the true story we think is there's a fight that took place and this guy died and Councilor is trying to cover it up. People have just formed that opinion already. Others saying is Valley Teller is under the directive of Koji,
Yeah.
and the government is trying to cover it up. So we're in a quandary right now, and the only thing we can rely on is justice.
Dennis, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an investigator, but I think I have a fair understanding of some of the issues that we have in Liberia. And so I will give my own perspective about it. I honestly think, the government have demonstrated clear incompetence and overreach at the same time. So assuming that, I've said it on this show, I think a few months ago, that Justice Scott was giving she was giving broken information that were not very clear about what happened that night. I've said it. I think, there are things that she needs to explain, but we should allow the justice system to play its role. To be honest, this is where I stand. But the way the government have handled the case is clearly overreach. When you have all these police officers dressed up in gears and trying to demonstrate that, they are now in charge of everything and, they will prosecute this woman. When you look at the way that they handle in this case, I'm reminded of the way they handle President Salif's son. I'm reminded about the way. So it seemed like anybody that is quote unquote associated with the opposition, the government seemed to have this muscular and macho position to show that, they are in clear, position to make sure justice is held. But Gifty Lama died. Yinswa died right under the government. Ines died under the government. Several other deaths, the EPS officer, these people died. Nothing happened. Nobody has been prosecuted. No evidence of anybody being pointed to say this person will suspect this person. Let's bring them. Even the guy, this guy from City Hall, the Valley Teller guy, assuming he didn't do whatever the crime he committed, but there is a social media post of him owning a gun. They brought this man to the police station and had him for an hour, and they cut him loose, and he's living his life. So we have a two-tier justice system in the country now, where one person is accused of a crime, and then you take the whole police station to go arrest the woman and mistreat her, even though with her public service record, like everybody have said, she served the country at the highest level. I'm not excusing her. If she accused of committing a crime, let justice take its course. But for heaven's sake, use some human decency. Just human decency and say, okay, she's not a flight risk. Let's keep her at the police station here, or let her be on a house arrest and assign 5 police officers to her house and say, you can't go anywhere. You stay in the house here. We'll put 5 police officers and make sure that you don't leave this house, because at least she has served the country in a at a top level. But to treat her the way treating her and putting her in a prison cell, I've just written 2 weeks ago, I wrote an article on this, the whole, Moravia Central Prison and the conditions that people are going through there. And, I hate to say what I'm saying, because it seems like I'm advocating on one hand for elite to not be, put in that prison because of the unhealthy condition. But to be honest, that place is supposed to be treated, for every human being equally. But for heaven's sake, man, they should treat that woman with some decency just because of the history. Because remember now, they're not going to stay in power forever. Some of these people are also aligned to some of the crimes that we already know that they've committed, and we're just waiting for them to leave power. They'll be prosecuted and they'll go through the same experience that they're going through. Power it can stay in one place for a long time. It moved from one point to another. So we are and people should think about when they leave power, how would they want to be treated? That's how you treat other people. When you have, Toy bragging about 27 million people getting out of poverty, and but I mean,
It said 27,000, not million.
Oh, 27 what?
27,000.
Well, the information I got is 27 million, but yeah, we're gonna have that discussion.
That's the same information I got too. 27 million.
No, that was corrected during the same show, but the opposition black just hold on to the 27 million.
They will hear what they want to hear.
But Dennis, here's the thing. Job where you say during his first year, a presidency removed 27,000 people from poverty. We in the last year, tell how many persons in poverty. Don't tell about what happened in the first year. We in the last year. The most recent report of the last year tell you that we got almost 50% of people in poverty.
Yeah, I don't even know what it means in Liberia to take someone out of poverty, but that's another show by itself.
Go to the first year,
even 27,000 or something you block for out of 5 million people.
But all the 27,000 people come back to poverty.
27,000 people, not even Kagata.
How many did you get out of poverty?
What?
I'm sorry?
When Gonglo was in power, how many did he get?
Gonglo has never been in power. What do you mean Gonglo in power? Gonglo has never been in power.
Gonglo has never been in power?
No.
Gonglo has never been in power.
He served as Solicitor General.
That's in power then?
Where you got power?
That take people from poverty.
Yes, my question. A lot of people.
But before you go to the question of Dennis, let me raise a question that all of us can
yesterday. And during the press conference, we saw the police show the building and say, hey, this is 45. You have iron door this way, you have iron door, you have this wall, you have that. So definitely there was no forced entry. And because there was no forced entry, then during the press conference, there is an assumption that since nobody entered, it means those who in the building already did it. The case has not gone to court, so maybe we don't expect them to present the evidence. But based on what was presented so far, they are saying because it is not possible for anybody to enter due to the high security here, the crime must have been committed by people inside. Mr. Gibman, is that enough, or we should wait for court hearing?
Well, they call it preliminary hearing, preliminary evidence. This is not a real thing. We're just giving you is a teaser.
But that is presented in court. That is presented in court, not at the press conference.
It's a number. Why, as an opposition, why are you so generous? You're afraid you're going to lose this case?
So he lost this case.
Let's see.
Hold on, Mr. Nabe. Let him. We want to bring in our callers now, so let him end.
Okay, the gentleman said our first evidence is when we got there, we had security guards, we had everybody around. We did our outside inspection. We didn't see anything unusual. And to get into the house, we couldn't get in. We had to cut the window through which a key was passed for us to open the door. So based on all of these evidence and other things based on the 3D and all of that, it is quite clear that the crime was committed in that house and it was contained in that particular house. That's why they were saying that. But you will see more and hear more when it's time to adduce evidence.
Right, but don't you think they would have said something that this is what is linking them to the crime?
Well, we're playing this is now we're playing cards here. We are not going to show you our hands. Okay. We're not going to show you our hands.
You ain't got no hand to show.
What's about this strategy? Let me ask you, Mr. Jeru, that probably what they are doing, and people are talking about the Councillor Scott, how she was treated, but nobody's talking about the two others, the other women, right? How they've been treated. Is it fair? Is it because Councillor Scott served, high profile position, but the other people can go to South Beach and not her? My question for you, Gerald, is say maybe this is a strategy to say, well, we don't have forensic in Liberia. We don't have all this. So charge all three with murder, and then one person can tell on the other.
Yeah,
Is that what the government is trying to do here?
when you talk about nobody talking about the other people, usually we call that the submersion of an eminent character. So the eminent character submerged them. There's nothing you can do about it. When president and two security people are in accident, only the president will talk about it. Security people, they will not talk about them. But here is an interesting some question I need to ask, and this time I'm putting on my journalistic hat. Why did Gloria Scott say that she used pepper spray to spray someone when she knew that was not true? Why did she say so? So, that's why somebody said the issue of misstatement to, I think that argument, the issue of misstatement or false statement to the law enforcement would have been a proper charge for her. You can't, it was not true. That you didn't spray anybody. Rubber can with gun, then you go spray the person, then you not die yet. Then at the end of the day, they didn't see bullet.
Did they say he went there with gun?
They saw. Well, I'm sorry.
Did they say the person went there with a gun?
Okay, so there's no gun. There's no gun, but
No, I don't know. I'm asking because the story is not really clear.
The first information that came up was the armed robber came with gun. Then she sprayed the man's face and she ran away. While the man was trying to his face. That was a story.
They said our knife.
Yeah. So if there's knife now, that's fine. But even at that, I think as a lawyer, as she is, a very, very important legal luminary in the country, I think she will have refrained from making any statement like that. Because it's not true. You cannot make statement like that until you make sure that it is absolutely necessary to make that kind of statement.
So she has withdrawn that statement.
Did she withdraw the statement?
Gibson, the flip side of that is
not sufficient.
The flip side is that the woman also reported, and at least from the story that we heard, that she went and reported twice that there were people, either attempting in her yard or trying to, harm her some kind of way, and the police went to her area, and at least the police director even admitted that when he met the Senate to say, yes, she reported the case to us. We went there, we investigated, and we established some kind of security protocol and advised her. Is that sufficient enough to say we advise her, especially for her caliber of, the stature of her stature in the society? I would say no. But, yes.
The police director said, I listened to it very well. He said they offered to provide security for her and she rejected that.
Well, I didn't hear that part. If they did, well, then it's
yeah, she spoke back to the thing.
Yeah, but the police director told her of false stories.
Yeah, they offered to. No, I mean, we're not saying it's true. We're not saying the police is telling the truth or not. We're just saying what he said. We offered to provide security, and she said, and she rejected, and she declined. But other people asked for security, and we provided those security. He made that statement. So the whole thing at the house is murky. We don't have evidence. They went and investigated. So we're not going to bang on the police and say, oh, why you there? You're not right, or you don't have all the evidence. But for me, they charging Musu-Scott with murder is telling everybody that Musu-Scott decided to kill this woman or this little girl with malice, with the intent.
And that's what we're asking you, Gerald.
Gibson.
So the strategy here. Charge all of them with murder.
One of them with stick. Just
right. Charge them with murder. So when you separate them, the other people will be scared, and one of them will become state witness after they confess.
Okay, here, let me give you one example. I'm not a lawyer at the paralegal, right? Everybody know at the paralegal.
I don't know.
I didn't know that. So not everybody.
Yeah, one of my people that I did was the people gave her 4 crimes to write a brief. To write a brief. We went to write a brief. Some people put everything together. Some people separate them. Some of us who were able to ask other lawyers before we did our assignment, we separated the crime according to the individual involvement. So we're able to pass. But what the professor said was, if you have 4 people in the crime, in the event, or what in the commission of a crime. One person may be the one that committed the murder. The other person was conspirator. The other person was some kind of conniving, you can say accessory to the crime. You're the one that drove the people to the crime scene. So when you charge him, then John Brown actually committed the murder because he did. Sarah Mary was a conspirator because she had accompanied John Brown. She was standing there and John Brown did. This man is an accessory to the murder because he drove them and brought them here and here. They should be able to separate that. Then when the jury is coming with a verdict, the jury will make a verdict based on the separation of the crime. They say, okay, you committed a crime, you are guilty. You were a conspirator, you're not guilty. You are accessory to the crime, you are guilty. For me, that's the way I think. I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer. It's just something I did, so it may not even be all to it. So that's the way I think it should have been done. Then we're going to know what part Musu-Scott play. We'll know the part the other two will play, and then we'll make an informed decision or judgment of really whether the police is after Musu-Scott for political reason or they are just doing their work.
Gibson, at the end of the day, the one thing that I would say out of this case, Dennis and everybody, the government will get credit internationally because it has prosecuted a prominent Liberian. So when you're seeing the next U.S. governance report, they will say Liberia score high mark in,
You think so? Because
whether the government win or not, they will get
that person
high
was
mark.
Not necessarily. It could be also mischaracterized that the government used the judiciary to go after political enemies. They can also say that. This particular case will make or break this government. If Gloria Musu-Scott and others are acquitted, this government is doomed. If Gloria Musu-Scott and others are convicted, this government will fly with colors.
Oh,
anyway, that's the way I see it.
Thank you. Let me announce that if you want to join the conversation, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403. We already have a caller. Let's take the first caller and we can talk more. The caller here is Kalebo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Dennis. Very fascinating discussion tonight. I don't have much to add here, but just quick observation and probably reaffirm some of the beautiful argument Ambolai and Gibson have made tonight. There's one thing that is coming across here, that in this 2023 elections, Councillor Bongo is the candidate that cut across Nigeria. In the southeast, he has shown that. In the north central region, he's shown that. In the northwestern, he's showing that. And in terms of in this public manner, knowing Alice that I know for many years, and knowing Morris that I've had discussion with him for many years, so many times, I would want to call on Morris in particular to search his conscience, having listened to Ambolai tonight in Gibson, to actually switch from Bwaka to Gongo. I think it is, for me, a call for judgment and conscience. You can't have to go with Morris. If we're going to save the future of Liberia, we have to be able to, for once, not just go to what is comfortable for us. That's my comment. Bye.
Thank you. Will you also use this time to endorse Councillor Gonglo or no?
Me?
Okay, that was a trick question. Let me go to other callers here. The first one.
Gonglo, they asking you to endorse Gonglo.
But that would be like a Carlos Gray endorsing George Weah.
Exactly.
Mr. Anthony Gay. Mr. Gay.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Mr. Jack. I want to respectfully disagree with my senior brother Gibson Jeru. This case will not make or break the We Are government. However,
hold on. I want you to identify yourself that you were running for the Senate in Grand Jury, and you Benjamin Kofa Fania out of the situation. Is that true? I have coined that word.
No. Yes, I was accepted on the PCC ticket for Grand Jury County.
And you Benjamin out.
And other people who can be begging or paying tens of thousands of dollars to go on a party ticket. I pay $0 in our handpicked by the CPB to represent the Grand State County and the senatorial race.
With no primary.
My intention. Hold on. I will do my intention to run on the Senate based on personal reason. It's not because of any challenger.
But let me get this clear. You said you were handpicked. There was no primary. You were handpicked by the standard bearer.
There was no contender in Ranger County.
Okay.
There was no contender. I was the only one.
Because I heard that only when Mr. Comisi Bwaka, then he primary giant.
The way the TPP is structured, the Ranger County was allocated to the Liberty Party, not the ANC.
Okay.
But because based on my work there, I stand a better chance than the Liberty Party. So
all right, that was a sidebar. Let's get to your.
But the standard bearer can endorse the candidate. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Let me respectfully disagree with Mr. Jeru, my senior brother. This case will not make or break the CDC government. What this does for the CDC government is it shows that they are cherry picking. There are so many assault cases in Liberia, especially the one that went nationwide, that the Odell Sherman case, that the lady that got killed at that was named God's store, I think Princess or something. There was
Princess Copper.
footage. Correct. There was CCTV footages at that location. They never followed through. For me, with a telecommunication background, who installs CCTV devices all the time, I can tell you for a fact. Outside and inside, there's CCTV camera over there. What is being collected video footage is not that ordinary place that had no camera. You know, that was an easy case to prosecute. You know, there are other cases, that the 4 auditors that disappeared in thin air, the 3 missing boys. None of these things, you know, even the EPA officer, the one who was protecting the president. Then you come here and tell us because of this
But Anthony, are you saying since other cases were not prosecuted, they shouldn't prosecute this one? Is that the argument?
No, I'm not saying that. No, that's not the argument I'm making. But Mr. Jerry said this case, however, will make and break the government. And that's what I disagree with. I want every case to be prosecuted, to be given the due process, for every person to have the opportunity to represent themselves or be represented by the council, and, you know, so that due process can take its course. We got to be able to trust our justice system. The American justice system is not perfect, but at least people are held accountable. Rip a president in this country and see how you'll be treated in this country. I mean, we saw an article on Anthony Weiner from New York just by watching a teenager, you know, a naked video. He lost his job as a representative, a promising, you know, a Democratic representative from New York. So we cannot sit here and allow this kind of thing to happen. And the sad thing is, Mr. Jack, the Liberian Constitution or the Liberian justice system is mimicked after the United States. And we stay here and continue to practice, you know, bad behavior all of the time. It is a shame, man. I'm so disappointed.
Thank you. Let me take our next caller here. Mr. Aliyu Samba Kamara. Mr. Kamara, go ahead. You're live, sir.
It's very easy to identify the ANC people. Whenever they speak, they compare themselves with America. Everything is America. How you can tell the ANC people? but no, Mr. Gibson, CDC is already broken. This case cannot make CDC. Either way it turns out. Whether or not they have evidence, proper evidence to win this case, it doesn't matter what they do. The public already sees them from a certain lens. Okay? I wanted to delve into this Southeastern thing of an argument. They say Joseph Bokar has never been to the Southeast. And let me ask you, maybe I don't know any better. Is Grand Juliet County part of the Southeast?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Joseph Bokar has been going to the Southeast. He was in Grand Juliet very recently. The way Joseph Bokar campaign is set up.
Wait. When was
we have
James
James
what is recently?
who is in charge of Maryland County.
Come on now, recently
Yep,
could be.
Amos Square and others.
It could be
who are
5 years
also in
ago.
charge of some part. Hold your horses. If you hold your horses. If you have Amos Square and others who are in charge
But if you speak like that, then you need to give us information. You can't say Joseph Boakai been in Grand Jury recently. How recently was it recently?
Exactly.
Does it matter how recently is the recent? Joseph Boakai was in Grand Jury nearly 2 months ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so there's a whole network of things. Okay, when Joseph Boakai visits Grand Jury and he's going to visit Grand Bassa County frequently. Okay, now we have 2 other people, almost 2 other people who will be going deep into the Southeast. So the idea or the information that the Unity Party does not count the vote in the Southeast to be significant or valuable to the Unity Party victory in 2023, I think it's assault, and people are having the wrong information. And by the way, the population of the Southeast in Montserrat County is probably among the least because they are centered in their location as far as the Southeasterners. If you go across the Bourgeois Island, that's where they settled. Yeah, there might be a sprinkle of them in other places, but Montserrat County is not predominated by people from the Southeast, which we do not consider Grand Bassa County to be from the Southeast, by the way. But all generally, Joseph Boakai respects people from the Southeast. That's why he visits Riverside County frequently. In fact, he donates to Riverside County, not just boats, but also clinics and other stuff.
But you know that
Joseph Boakai do not go to the Southeast.
But you know that boat situation was a disaster, right?
The boat sank.
Whatever disaster it was, disaster or no disaster, that eliminates the argument that Joseph Boakai do not visit the Southeast. There's no argument there. The reality is that he goes to the Southeast and people are assigned to the Southeast. Right now, as we speak, the chairman of the Unity Party is galvanizing in the Southeast. James Barney is galvanizing in the Southeast. Young Kama and her team, they're galvanizing in Grand Bassa County. So it's a whole network, it's a system, it's a tornado, in fact you can call it a hurricane as we speak. Okay?
Now, please?
Who is galvanizing in Lofa?
Where is Joseph Boakai now?
He's not going to answer that.
All right. Let me tell you the next one.
No, but then let him answer the question. Where is Joseph Boakai now?
What program was he there for?
Where is he now? Where is Joseph Boakai now?
Don't prolong the show to now on this, people dragging this thing. Now. Let's move on.
No, where is Joseph Boakai now?
JMB is in Liberia. Now the question you want to answer the question. JMB is in Liberia.
Which hospital?
Wherever I go and I can afford to charter buses and give people free food and pay 70,000 to people, of course people will turn up. But let's see what's going to happen in October of 2023. This thing is a tsunami and it's completely wavering in Joseph Boakai's way.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me get Mr. Evans Kamara. Evans Morris, he will be our last caller here. Evans, go ahead, you're live.
Thank you, Mr. Ja, and hello to your panelists. You know, when people talk about the Southeastern people, look, there are 2 main groups of people in Liberia, the Mende-speaking group and the Kru-speaking group. Bassa people are part of the people from the Southeast. As a crime, when I hear somebody speaking Bassa, I can understand most of what they're saying. So they're part of us. We make up almost 48% of the population in our country, that language group. So when people come in and try to make it seem like we're insignificant, and thereby they shouldn't focus on that region.
And that is to their detriment.
What's that?
Go ahead.
That would be to their detriment.
Right. When Mr. Kamara come on this show and talk about you delegating people to campaign for you in a specific region of the country, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. But Joseph Boakai will be another Hillary Clinton because he would think the places where he may not win, He will not worry to go there. And the places where you think you will win, only place you will go, and that will be the difference in the election. It's not going to be a blown out election. It will be a very tight election. You know, people who left football, they say 1-0 can hear more than 5-0, because you would think you had a chance. Maybe if you could have done this, if you could have done that, you could have won. But the neglect in the Southeast will be to their detriment. But lastly, let me say this: for the whole case, people on this platform who are intelligent people, smart people who respect their opinions on this platform, are pretty much saying effectively, justice is not equal in Liberia. You know who Gloria Musu-Scott is? Thank God for Dr. Duke, who brought it to our attention yesterday on the show, that she, as a Supreme Court justice, instead of interpreting the law, when people like Bob Bala and some other crime people went to the Supreme Court after Charles Taylor had sentenced them to jail, she doubled the sentence. Instead of just interpreting it, she added, I think, 5 more years to give him 10 years in prison. Yep. That's what she did. In Liberia, we don't have animal rights groups, or even have animal rights law. Somebody killed her daughter, ate it. She sentenced the person to 6 months in jail. She arbitrarily made that judgment when there's not law on the books to back up her decision. She sent that person to jail for 6 months. So Gloria Musu-Scott is not somebody who is fair and balanced. She's not. Now, I'm not saying that she's guilty, but if you're saying that the process when somebody is booked shouldn't be the same process shouldn't be given to her because she served our country. Somebody like Morris saying that because she served our country, so she should be in the comfort of her home while somebody is laying dead, and she gave contradicting statements to the police. When somebody like you and myself, or even your cousin in Liberia, your brother in Liberia, will be thrown to South Beach the next day, but because she's a big person, you want to be associated with her and carry friendship with her, so you're saying that you give us a special favor. That's not the Liberia we want to see. I don't talk about outside of both sides of your mouth. If you want to be fair and balanced, straight down the line. I will leave it there.
Thank you. All right. Morris, you want to respond, and then we'll go around the room for our.
I'm glad you point me out immediately. I first of all want to correct Elvis. First of all, it's not 2 groups of people in Liberia. There are actually 3 groups. There is
he said 2. He said 2.
He said 2. There are 3. So there is the Kwa, there is the Mende, and there is the Mel group. Maybe you should do a little bit more research before you jump into making conclusion. You're 48%. I will not go into the 48% thing that you're making. If that's what you honestly believe, that 48% of Liberians are made up of the Kwa group, hey, kudos to you. I'll clap for you. I will leave you to do that research on your own. As far as, I don't know if you listened to what I said. I stated clearly that Justice, Musu-Scott had some questions that she needs to answer that is unclear about her story, that what happened that night. I said that. I said she needs to face the law. The law is the law. No matter who you are, the law has to be blind. But I also stated that the government is involved in overreach. So some of the things that they're doing is just not necessary. They're being too over dramatic, because this is not the only death that has happened in Liberia. Mention few names: Ines, Gifty Lama, Yinswa, Cooper. All those people die in Liberia. Nobody, the EPS officer, one of the callers even talk about that. I don't want to go through the back and forth thing, but I was only saying that the government was being too harsh in this particular case, just like they did with.
But you mentioned that by virtue of her position, she should be treated differently.
Exactly, because she has served the country in a certain position. And I think even Mr. Nangwe even made a statement with Donald Trump.
So even if she committed a crime,
we don't know who committed the crime yet.
Right, I know.
Right now, we don't know who committed the crime. We don't know what the police have as the evidence. We don't know that. We don't know what the state has. But what I'm saying is, just like you see, President Trump they used the back door to get President Trump in a place, even in the mugshot, it would never come out no matter what.
That should be the gold standard. Is that
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, with Justice Scott, and even if she's alleged to have committed a crime, you can't go and start dressing police officers and putting them on riot gear as though you're going to arrest a rebel leader that has 500 men behind them. This is a person who poses no threat to the state at all. Okay, assuming that some of the opposition people will get upset and they'll jump in the street, you should prepare for that. That would make sense. But to go and say you having this whole long convoy of security officers just to go and arrest someone and put them in Moravia Central Prison, it didn't make sense. But that's just my view. I'm just an ordinary Liberian airing my opinion about the situation. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an investigator. I'm just giving a position on it. But Elvis, your position is respected as well. As far as Caleb was saying, I should endorse Councilor Gonglo. I would just I will leave that to Gibson and my man. How you call him?
Okay, let me get one worker supporter. Mr. Yeah, Mr. Flomo Livingston.
Yes, thank you. That is, Murray just called and just spit a lie. What did he get did that for? Not that for the 8%
No, he didn't say that. He said the Kwa speaking.
He said the Kwa group.
The Kwa, so Bele, Crown, Bassa, Grebo, Crew. So those 5 ethnic groups he said make up 48% of Liberia.
So it's not fair. When can I get our staff on that to make up for 48%? Again, let me talk about GF not going to the Southeast. That's a lie. He went to Riverside, Grand GF. So the current president, one last John, we have visited the Southeast. Before even John became president, how often do you visit the Southeast?
Let's talk about JMB and the Southeast. Leave John Weir business. Talk about JMB in the Southeast.
JMB, I'm not visiting Nigeria. I don't know where you come from with that.
If you want to say the president in the Southeast, you have to compare with all dealers.
Yes.
Before the car went the president Southeast.
Okay.
So we need to start out like Southeast and Southeast. Nobody talk to each other. Whether it's out in trouble, if he's out care about Southeast and stuff. You see around, surrounding the people who are working in the government, more than not even from local country, I can tell you that. So how we say the president traveling, people won't even work around not even for the country from. Most of the people are from different countries. Go check it out. It's a fact. So
thank you.
We need to stop this traveling. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I think we can go around the room now and get our closing. Let's close, but let me read a few comments here just to be Sam Waller say this is a shameful statement. Why is this guy seeking preferential treatment of public figures? Sam Waller, I think he's talking to you.
Yeah, I think you're making that statement to what I said.
And then Sam continue, how does Gonglo square this tough on corruption mantra when he cannot point to any record of having successfully prosecuted anyone for corruption when he was Solicitor General? As Sam say, after October 10, 2023, Judge Weir is going to end like Charles Taylor. I don't know how, in jail or what? Stephen Johnson, on 2 occasions, Councilor Scott reported burglaries. The police went to the scene and established the facts. The police then proceeded to advise her to increase her security. So, how can you argue that the same place couldn't be breached by an external force? Lots of comment here. Musu Wabi Cooper says everyone is talking about the woman and not the little girl. What a shame. Ambola, the way I see things playing at the court yesterday, you think they all know that good thing you are talking about, my dear brother? Someone is having a kind of Liberia-like internet. If the Weirs government had shown the same interest in the $100 million drug case as they did in the Musu-Scott case, the drug dealers would still be in custody. All right, those are a few of the comments here. Let me get someone from the Gonglo team to respond to the Gonglo comments, and then we're going to go around the room for your closing.
Go ahead, Chief.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so honestly, we need to do more of a teaching on this one. Solicitor generals do not just go about picking criminals from the street and taking them to court. That's not how it works. The way our criminal justice system, our anti-corruption system is structured, when audit reports are conducted and people are held liable, the law requires that audit report be subjected to the legislature. Those are things we need to change. The audit report need to go to the legislature, and the legislature need to make determination on them before they can move forward for prosecution. Most of the people indicted in the audit reports are working in connivance, and they are criminal conspirators with those in the legislature. So you will not have the legislature sending any audit report easily for prosecution. So auditor generals, let me say auditor generals, solicitor general will not take audit report and go to court when that audit report has not passed through the legislature and come from the president to go for prosecution. That's the reason why the established people said, let's establish the LACC and give it its own prosecutorial power, that it can investigate and prosecute on its own. The way to fight corruption in Liberia is not to wait for audit report. That is why Gonglo is saying, instead of you waiting somebody steal before you go spend money hiring lawyer to do prosecution, we do lifestyle audit. That is unprecedented. It has never happened in our history. That is the way to fight corruption. Before you enter my government, you declare your asset. We know how much you're making. After every 6 months, we check your lifestyle. If you ride a car that is more than your asset, than your income rather, or you building a house that is more than your income, we investigate you and confiscate it right there. That is the new approach we have identified to solve Liberia corruption problem. The old approach of waiting for the man to steal, you wait for the legislature to approve the audit report, which will never happen, is not what we intend to do. I hope that answers his question.
Thank you. I'm looking at. I don't know if I could show this, but what the issue Evans raised about ethnic groups, because sometimes is very hard, and maybe we can talk about this briefly. Sometimes this whole thing about county, the underlying factor there is ethnic group. Will we agree? Like if somebody say, let's take someone from Nimba, right? Get your person from Nimba. In essence, they are not saying pick a Mandingo person or pick a Crown person or pick a Pele person. They are saying take Mano or Gio, right? So sometimes the ethnic groups and the counties, we can't distinguish that. If somebody say Bas or Bong, right? They say basically they are saying pick a Pele person and the Pele belt. If someone say Grand Bassa County, they are saying Bassa. So if we are, how do we really differentiate this county and ethnic group when it comes to these vote reach or population? And based on that, if Pele is the largest, followed by Bassa and Gribble, the third. So if you look at this county or Southeastern based on that population too, will you say maybe Evans is making sense here?
No, Dennis. So the way, so some of these decisions are not made entirely just on the ethnicity, but also the region as well. So
let's start with the county. The county, like in the case of Nimba, when we say Nimba, Nimba, what are we talking about here?
So when you talk about Nimba, you do a historical trend of how Nimba people vote. You will not just take a Mano or a Gio person exclusively. You look at the county and how the county is voting, the voting pattern of the county, and then pick someone from there and say, okay, if we pick this person, we know that not every Mano or Gio person will vote for this person.
But when you're picking that person from Nimba, you are not picking a Mandingo. You are not picking a Crown person. You are not picking B.
That's correct. Right? That's right. So the same way we can say, if we take someone from the Southeast, we're not just entirely taking a Crew person or a crown person, but we're taking someone from the southeast, assuming that the southeasterners will collectively support this person. Otherwise, to be honest, if this is the case, if we take your argument in isolation of everything else, then nobody should be going to Nima County because Tier 1 is a born in Bania. Because then by default, Nima is supposed to go to Tier 1 just based on his ethnicity because he's from one of the two largest ethnic groups in the county. The difference between the Gil and the Mano in Nima County is extremely small. It's negligible. It's not big. It's a very small number. But because you're looking at all the voting pattern and other things around it. So Joel Howard Taylor, it's not just, Joel Howard Taylor, for heaven's sake. Look at Joel as a case in Bon County. But the county overwhelmingly supported her when she ran. She at least won twice in the county. So you look at her voting pattern of winning in the county twice as a senator, and then say, if we put this woman on the ballot as a running mate, the assumption is that the county will still support her because now she's elevated to a different level. Same way when you take someone from, a Mandingo tribe, you're assuming that if you take a Mandingo person, you're assuming that the Muslims in Liberia, regardless of the Bandi, the VAR, whatever, you're assuming that those group of people will support that person only because of the religious affiliation. So there are different factors. It's not just the ethnicity in itself. That's my judgment.
I like to agree with Morris too that I don't think it is necessarily based on tribe as much as it's based on the locale. We talk about the Southeast. We don't talk about Grand Judah or Maryland County. We talk about because the people in the Southeast.
That's a new phenomenon. We never used to hear this. So let's use counties, right?
Yeah. So, but what I was saying, yeah, Dennis,
we heard Southeast only weird time, right? Because
no, not just weird town.
No, even though time we heard
exactly.
For voting, nobody has been grouping everybody together except when weird time because people far from the Southeast don't even know the difference, so they just think everybody the same. So people are being looking at
Mr. John.
Exactly, Dennis.
Mr. John.
So the thing is, the people in a particular region experience certain
Mr. John.
No, but when we come to a region, it's only Southeast region. Nobody talk about region anywhere else.
Mr. John, can I interject here, please?
Dennis.
The other places people talk about counties, but when it comes to Southeastern, this is Southeastern. Go ahead. I don't want
there is history to that also. I can explain that, but I'll let everybody go.
Mr. John, let us not fool ourselves. You see, this is the hypocrisy that I talk about in our Liberian politics. You saw when the people were going to Bassa to select Charlene, they say, we are going after her because she's from the Bassa belt. She's from Bassa. We wanted Bassa vote. You heard that. People go to Nima because of the vote from there. When they go to Nima, they're not going there for the Mandingos and the Bassa. They know when they say, I'm going to Nima, the reason that they pick Jeremiah Kun was he's a Gil, and that's the largest powerful force in Nima County. So why are we fooling ourselves? We know exactly what these things are. Don't kind of sugarcoat this stuff here. We can't sugarcoat it. That's what it is. You
are completely
let's leave it at that.
You can say that, but I've been in those rooms and I know when they're doing the checkup. In fact, it was Prince Johnson that said the only reason we didn't pick Senator Kanga is because of the disunity among her group, her support group in Bassa. That's why they didn't support, but they wanted the Bassa belt. And everybody says that why are we sugarcoating this thing?
So why are you saying Bassa belt and not Grand Bassa County? Why you say Bassa belt?
Grand Bassa
Bassa belt. No. This is a game that you are disconnected. Bassa belt means.
Okay, so you know more about Bassa than I do. Thank you.
No, I know about liberal behavior, political behavior.
More
than when it says Bassa belt. Bassa belt is a Bassa belt includes Riverside County.
Let me add one
That's my point, right? So these they are just ethnic group. They are not counted. They don't care. People care about ethnic.
So they are counties. We say Riverside County. You still saying that ethnic group, that Riverside and Grand Bassa, that's the Bassa belt. That's Riverside and Grand Bassa.
So why go for Bassa?
let me add my 1 cent to this.
County.
I think at
Because there are other people there.
some point of our discussion, when somebody says something that makes sense, we need to give it an ear. Then Mr. Jar said something that is very intriguing here. When Samuel Doe was president, we barely heard Southeast. We heard Grand Jede, but barely heard Southeast. The reason why we're hearing Southeast during the we administration is because of the cream of leaders from that region. The pro tem, the speaker, this person. So they believe the people have now tried to make the government to be a government of the Southeast. And that's the politics. But I agree with the identity politics that is playing in Liberia, that people do their in fact, they follow certain politicians because it is their tribe. Like for NDPL, all they put at most of they put at NDPL, they put that for Joy Bole because Joy Bole is from Grand Jede. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Nima, Dr. Okoto left Nima and came to America. He spent almost, I think, 27 or 30 years in America. Got a PhD. Some of the children in Nima don't even know him. When he went back, Nima voted for him almost 65%. He won Nima. I think 72% he won Nima. So there are certain tribal lineages that speak loudly in our politics today. We can't deny that. But for me personally,
can I ask you a question? Thank you. Hold on, Morris. I want to leave it here. Time is fast.
For a long time, except during the George Weah time.
Yeah, because they couldn't pin that on crew. They couldn't say Grable, so because they wanted to make a political statement. Because if you say crew, people didn't even know that Samuel Tua is not crew, he's Grable. So they say, whatever, forget all that. They all Southeastern. This is the first time in Liberia history where you put.
I didn't even know that Samuel Tua was Grable. You are telling me something new. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Grable. So they couldn't.
Dennis,
but let's end on that note.
Not because you don't know that the South.
Oh, you asked a question about Gonglo prosecuting.
No. Mame answered it. No?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you one question before we make. Are you saying that Tiawan will win Nima County just because of his ethnicity? Are you saying Tiawan will win Nima County because of his ethnicity?
Tiawan will win Nima County not only because he's from Nima, but because he is one of the best son that Nima ever offered in the presidential election.
Dennis, I hope you recording this show here because we'll come back to this discussion after.
He's the best son of Nima ever to enter presidential election.
Thank you. And let me start with you. This time, let's take at most, if you do it 30 seconds, that will be fine, because I don't want us to go beyond 10 minutes to do our closing. Let me start with Mr. Jeru. Your 1 minute for your closing.
Well, first of all, I will make it my duty. You know that they play Duking Juicy. The discussion here is juicy. And I'll make it my duty. I will not just leave Ambula alone to be I will become a
You can get any conversation anywhere better than what you get on Focus on Liberia, and you can take that to the bank.
That's correct.
I will come back to the Gloria Musu-Scott thing. I'll come back to the Gloria Musu-Scott thing. Least we assume that a government lacks evidence because before the government muster the courage to go and arrest someone, they should have something. They should better have something to muster the courage to arrest and charge a lawyer, a jurist, a Supreme Court justice, to charge her with murder. You better have something on her. You better have hard evidence to convict her. And my little brother Anthony said, this will not make or break. Anthony is practicing on me, so I don't have a problem with him. But these are the kind of cases that we call in journalism make or break news. When the government wins this case and provide all the evidence, people will say, "Hey, you say government ain't get nothing. Yeah, now the woman a killer." It will turn around, and then George Weah government will be seen as a government that prosecute people regardless of your status. But if they lose this case, they are going to lose thousands of voters from that region where she come from, and plus more in Monrovia.
But whatever way they turn, I think they lost victors from Calocan already. So
remember, he was leaning the other way. He almost fall. He's leaning.
You know
So,
what? Is it my time,
yes,
Dennis?
yes, sir. That's why.
Yeah, you know, and let me just quickly thank you very much. I think we had a good time here, but let me say this. Yes, I'm leaning, of course. The CDC government is on the ropes. They put out the two big guns in the presence of Eugene Nambwe and Samuel Tue. They bungled the whole presentation. Right now, the only thing anybody remembers from the whole conversation is 27 million people when we are only 5 million people in Liberia. So that's a loss. They went to court. They lost the $100 million drug case. That's a loss. They are now mistreating Gloria Musu-Scott. Callaway district is gone. That's a loss. So right now, the CPP, I think they're in a good place because they were our competition in the Southeast. Right now, we own the Southeast. I'm very happy tonight that we can expose some of these things that will play well in the elections that we go to October 10. We are very confident. We're happy in a good place. We got a Bassa belt. Someone talked about a Bassa belt. You said Bassa is only in Roa says and Bassa. Bassa is in Roa says, it's in Bassa, it's in Bunk, it's in Maserati, it's in Margibi. That's a large swath of Liberia. Nimba County, yes, Tier 1 is our best candidate in recent times to come out of Nimba. We respect that, even though he denied that we had a meeting. But you know, he's our brother. I'm from UPP, Tier 1 is from LPP, so he's my
You
wife.
keep saying we. Are you a member of CPP now, or you still leaning?
I mean, leaning CPP.
he forget that he was
so Councilor Gongo did not deny. He did not deny that the meeting was not held. In fact, a press release was issued to clarify that a meeting was held with the CPP and discussions were made, and there a lot of issues were discussed, including African Union sending people for, sending people for security.
You finish your question.
So no, we didn't deny it. We don't deny it.
That is even better. That is even better. So we know Councillor Gonglo is a friend, he's an ally. And we know as we get closer to October, things will tighten up. So we're very confident. We know we're happy at where we are. Thank you very much tonight for the opportunity.
Thank you. Alice?
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. It was a great show. I think the Southeast is up for grabs. Everybody, need to try to run the campaign no matter what. You can't underestimate the people. Every vote is important. So we are looking forward to October 10th.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Great show. As usual, you see how relaxed I am. I am looking at, I just made a reservation for my red bottom shoes for the second inauguration of the King George. So
I thought you were wearing sneakers to inauguration.
Listen, man. Listen, why the CPP people why you so jittery, man? Why you scared? Listen, we are saying this. Everybody's telling me you're not going to win 14 counties. The Constitution does not require that we win 14 counties. We are looking for 50 plus 1, and we have that already in our our goal used to say in our lock box. It's locked up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I see you on the 14th. I know you're going to run to court and say we rigged the election. You're not working. You're sitting there. And I will say a prayer for Omen Joseph Boakai. Hopefully, they will bring him back in one piece. And we want to beat him. We don't want to see him on the Ghana, like they say. We want to beat him fair and square. So we pray for Joseph Boakai to return to Liberia, and we'll beat him.
Thank you, Mr. Krumah. Get ready. But before that, let me announce that shows on Focus on Liberia are throughout the week. On Tuesday, 1 p.m., we have the Hour of Politics. Tuesday, 7 p.m., that's Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. That's the only health show you will find. Roundtable Africa, the show that discusses all of Africa, is every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And Tough Talking Thursday is every Thursday at 7 p.m. The Literary Hour, where we discuss literature, is every Friday at 6. And, of course, Friday Night Debate is every Friday at 8. FOL Marketplace, our show on business, economic, and finance, is every Saturday at 3. The Liberal History Channel is every Saturday at 7 p.m. A New Day show that discusses gender issues, gender equity, that's every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and On Point with the unapologetic sedition is every Sunday at 4 p.m. Please join us and keep watching Focus on Liberia for education to elevate, educate, and promote all things Liberia. Mr. Mami, you're closing.
The
Okay.
The Friday program.
Yeah, Kroma. Sorry, Kroma.
Just a little correction. The Friday program, you said, I think 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. GMT. I think that should be 12 a.m. GMT.
Okay, that PM and AM.
There.
Okay.
Great.
Well, Dennis, thanks for the show tonight again. I wanted to point out this ethnicity thing that you brought up, and I wanted to disprove it also by presenting another evidence that most of the leaders that we've been successful to have in our country, Liberia, have not come from the most populated ethnic groups. That's another fact to prove that, it's not just based on the ethnicity. The fact remains.
What is not based on ethnicity?
The argument you just presented
Pele is populated.
No, I didn't present any argument. I said
you are taking Elvis Morris' argument to say, well, why is this not the case? And I was saying that it's not just entirely based on ethnicity; it's based on the county and other things, not just
right. What I said was the counties. When people talk of counties, I say more or less they are talking ethnic groups and not actual county. Because in my example is, if you talk Nimba, you are not talking. If somebody say, let me take a candidate, a running mate from Nimba, that person is not going to take Mandingo, is not going to take Pele or Kran. They're going to take Mano or Gio.
So to disprove that argument, Dennis, my argument is that in our history, the leaders that we've had have come from some of the smallest.
No, but that's not my argument, though. That's not what I'm saying.
So if all right, I mean, we shouldn't go back and forth. But
people that want vote from counties are looking at tribes. That's what I'm saying. If somebody is saying, Basso, they're looking at the tribe Basso and not the county. If people say Nimba, they are looking at Mano and Gio because they are not looking at B. Nobody will say, let me take a B person to be my running mate so I can get the Nimba vote, right? That's all I'm saying.
So the argument you're making is that it's based on ethnicity and not just the county, right?
Yes, people who go for county votes going for ethnicity.
If you take the ethnicity argument that you're making to say, okay, we're taking a popular ethnic group, whether it's Gio, Mano, or Pele, I counter that argument to say, well, we've never had a Pele president, Mano president, or a Gio president.
No, let's talk about vice presidential pick. Because nobody rise up to be president, say I'm going to run for presidency because I'm coming from this country or this tribe.
But we've had candidates that are Pele and Gio and Mano, but they have never won the presidency.
But that's not my point. My point is,
anyway,
you are looking for a vote from a county.
So
our presidents have never been on tribe, but when we are picking vice president, we saw that throughout. They are looking for tribe.
So your arguments surround popularity, it surround majority. But anyway, we shouldn't,
Can we do that another day?
Yeah, let's find another time to have this conversation before we can talk about this, entirely. But I really appreciate the conversation tonight. I think, that's the only reason why I like to come on the show here. And unfortunately, the people on Spoon or the other stations don't know me. So, I really enjoy coming here to talk about these things. I'm like my man, it seems like we always agree on most of the things that we talk about. Maybe because we have the lived experience and not Gayman, who has been out like Liberia for over 30 years, but all his examples are based on Miami and Florida.
That's why Clever want you to get Miami.
Chose Miami to be Monrovia, but I feel like
Miami, Liberia,
advising him, and I really appreciate the time. Hopefully we'll look forward to coming back here again. Thank you.
Dennis, let me bring something to your attention before Ambula comes.
Please don't.
Hashif Ambula say his tabata tonight gives him general explanation that the government winning the case against Musu-Scott. Now, what I said tonight? People can listen or what?
Let's go ahead, Mommy.
Yeah, so thank you. Like everybody said, a very good show. Vice President Joel Howard Taylor's, attempt to get some publicity. We are judging her based on her role in government from 2005 to today. We're not judging her on what she did, in the past. We've already seen how vulnerable she is in Bond County. That when Maggie struck at the time, all the town chiefs and the elders and everybody left from behind her and went behind Maggie. They did not stand with her. That exposed her vulnerability. In terms of the vote in Grand Jida in the southeastern region, we have established that the people in the southeastern region vote on two fundamental issues: expectation and result. In 2005, they expected that they would vote for their son George Weah and he would transform their life, he would build their schools and build their road. They were not successful. Ellen got less than 5-10. Ellen highest percentage in the southeastern county was 7%.
She got 900 votes.
Yes, in the southeastern region. To tell you that the people can vote on result, after 2005 election, when Ellen took foreign direct investment in the southeastern region, the golden beryllium, the equatorial palm oil, the Putu mine, Ellen got 46% in Sino, 48% in Grand Cru, 42% in Maryland, and 54% in River G. That is over 350% difference because the people were voting on results. 2017, they were voting on expectation. That we will vote for our son George Weah. He will build our roads. He will build our schools. He will transform our lives. He will bring investment that will give us job. From 2017 to today, George Weah has built more private homes for himself than he has built schools in Grand Jida County or in the entire southeastern region. No investment, no jobs for the young people, no opportunities. Based on that, we are very optimistic that the people of Grand Jida, not because they hate him or not because they hate Abachi or Buffer Chimbos, but because they want to send a message that we are not fools. We cannot keep voting for you and supporting you, and you keep excluding us from the national cake. That's the message they want to send to George Weah and their incoming leaders after George Weah. That yes, we are loyal, but we are not fools. George Weah did nothing for the people in the southeastern region. But what he did, he even lied. I sent you a video of President Weah saying he has a farm in the East Sino County that is producing food and feeding the people of Sino. Dennis, if you can play that recording, it's about 30 seconds of the president lying that he has a farm. You do nothing for the people, it's okay, but don't lie on them. That's how I will close.
You're muted, Dennis.
Dennis, you are muted. You are muted, Dennis. We can't hear you.
Yeah, you want to clarify because Sam Wallow is saying this. He said he's here because he can get on spoon. Interesting.
Oh, me?
No.
Oh no! I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Yeah, I never said that. I mean, every time you gotta keep correcting yourself. I never said that. I said I'm glad that the people from the other places don't know me, and I spend a lot of time here enjoying the conversation. That's what I said, right? I mean, you guys can correct me if I.
Yes.
These people don't listen. These people that are making a comment, they don't listen. They get right.
Oh no, they listen. You can always clarify. Mommy, I can authenticate this video.
Look,
but let me play it.
Joe Rastafari, King Selassie, big up, Mr. Liar Man.
Invest in the sector. All of you people, let's go back to the ground. Are you making farm yourself? Me? Yeah. You know, I've been making farm since, where is it? I got a farm in Sano. You know, okay. Buri give me 500 acres. I harvest every year, and my people.
That is exactly what I was talking about.
If you cannot
do anything for the people of Sino, if you cannot do anything of the people assigned, you cannot provide them jobs, you cannot build their roads, you cannot provide opportunities for people to go to school. Don't lie on them.
Can I interject here, please? Like you say, you have not authenticated the tape. We saw picture photos of AI with Joseph Walker wearing his athletic suit and all that, and we'll find out that all of these things were AI produced. This could be one of those. So if you cannot authenticate that, we can't do that.
And it's let go now. It's late
right.
now.
I know I can't authenticate it.
Just
send it to me.
It's late, man. It's late.
Jerome, you got a job cut out for you.
Nice
Got
try.
a job cut out for you.
All right. So thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your time here. Dave is complaining. He said, "I'm just hearing the only lady on the show. Why?" So, but Alice, you will clarify the next time we come.
We have an open invitation for all the ladies, any lady, please
right.
come on.
Or if you know some, you can recommend them.
Yeah, what happened to my sister Glendy G? She's busy on
No,
Facebook.
Glendy is not. Is under the weather, so she couldn't be here tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
guys.
thank you all for coming. We want to thank our viewers. We want to thank all those, even those who will watch later. Until then, we end with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.